Hello everybody, today we're going to talk about DNA replication. So why is this relevant? Well, the steps and enzymes required for DNA replication are a frequently tested topic in USMLE Step 1 because errors in DNA replication are the basis for many human diseases. A basic understanding of the DNA replication process is essential for understanding other USMLE Step 1 topics such as DNA mutations, DNA repair mechanisms, the cell cycle, pharmacology of drugs, and lab techniques. In this lecture, we will go over the basic steps and enzymes involved in DNA replication. As we said before, errors in DNA replication form the basis for a significant quantity of human diseases. In order for the body to make new cells, DNA must be copied accurately in order to ensure that every cell receives a copy of the DNA. Errors in DNA replication, if they are not repaired, can cause permanent changes in the genetic code. Changes in the genetic code are called mutations. Mutations can cause disease because they can cause dysregulation of normal gene expression. DNA mutations are the basis for carcinogenesis and various congenital disorders. Before we dive into the details, I want to introduce you to some important characteristics of DNA replication. DNA replication is a semiconservative process. This means that each daughter cell receives one strand of DNA from the parent cell, so that one cell is conserved through cell division. However, the other strand is constructed newly via DNA replication. Every newly made human cell, with the exception of gametes, receives 46 chromosomes, which are identical to the chromosomes of the parent cell. Here we can see a simple illustration which demonstrates the semi-conservative nature of DNA. If we pretend that this is a cell with only 2 chromosomes, each daughter cell gets one of the original parental strands and then uses this strand as a template to create a new complementary strand. This is important because it has implications on DNA repair mechanisms and on a genetic phenomenon called mosaicism. Another important characteristic of the DNA replication process is the orientation of DNA synthesis. Each molecule of DNA and RNA has a 3' end and a 5' end, which means they are not symmetric. This is because the chemical reactions required to link nucleotide monomers to form DNA and RNA can only occur from the 5' to 3' direction. So for example, in a typical double-stranded DNA molecule, each strand has the opposite orientation, that is, they are said to be anti-parallel to each other. Therefore, if we wanted to replicate the DNA strand in this illustration using DNA polymerase, each strand would be made in opposing directions. This may be hard to conceptualize at first, but don't worry, we will go over this various times throughout this lecture. The reason this is important is because it explains why DNA replication occurs the way it does. What I mean by this is, each strand in a DNA molecule is replicated in a slightly different manner. Both strands of the DNA molecule are replicated using the same enzymes. However, one strand is replicated continuously and the other strand is created discontinuously. The continuously replicated strand is said to be the leading strand, and the discontinuously created strand is said to be the lagging strand. This is because of the way that DNA polymerase synthesizes DNA. It can only make DNA from the 5' to 3' direction. This also explains why RNA polymerase only uses one DNA strand, which is called the non-coding strand, to make RNA during RNA transcription. So with these concepts in mind, let's get right down to the steps of DNA replication. DNA replication can be broken down into 3 steps: initiation, elongation, and termination. The first step, initiation, begins when an enzyme called Helicase recognizes specific sequences in the DNA molecule called origins of replication. Origins of replications are special sequences similar to promoters that contain a high concentration of thymine and adenine nucleotides, or residues. Helicase and other enzymes involved in DNA replication can identify these sequences and initiate the process of replication. Once helicase binds an origin of replication, it will break the hydrogen bonds which hold each DNA strand together and separate the strands. Special proteins called single-stranded binding proteins will bind each of the free strands to prevent them from reannealing. An enzyme called Topoisomerase is also involved. As we all know, DNA has a twisted or helical configuration, which can make DNA difficult to manipulate during DNA replication. The enzyme topoisomerase unwinds or untwists the DNA molecule by creating special breaks in the DNA strand. This facilitates the DNA replication process significantly. Topoisomerase is essential for DNA replication, as inhibition of this step will block DNA replication entirely. In fact, this is how the class of antibiotics known as fluoroquinolones inhibit bacterial growth. They block bacterial topoisomerase, which is also known as gyrase. Once all of this has occurred, DNA is ready to be replicated. Another important characteristic of DNA polymerase that we didn't mention, but also has implications in the DNA replication process, is that DNA polymerase cannot synthesize the new strand from nothing. DNA polymerase needs another type of polymerase called a primase to add a few complementary nucleotides called a primer before it can start adding nucleotides. Here we can see a simplified illustration of the DNA replication process. Let's go over it. First, you have helicase, which is splitting up each strand of the DNA double strand. Next, you have topoisomerase untwisting or straightening out the DNA. As helicase opens up the DNA double strand, special proteins called single-stranded binding proteins bind each strand and ensure reannealing of the strands does not occur. As we discussed earlier, DNA polymerase needs the help of another type of polymerase called primase. Primase adds a few nucleotides. With these nucleotides in place, DNA polymerase can get to work. As you can see, each DNA polymerase synthesizes the new strand in opposite directions, owing to the anti-parallel nature of the double-stranded DNA and the ability of DNA polymerase to only synthesize DNA in the 5' to 3' direction. The consequence of this is that one strand is made continuously because it is synthesized in the same direction that helicase opens up the DNA molecule. This is the leading strand. The other strand is synthesized in small sections called Okazaki fragments because it must be synthesized in the opposite direction that the helicase molecule opens up DNA. So if we analyze this image closely, you can see that helicase is opening up the DNA double strand in this direction. So if the DNA double strand is opening in this direction, this DNA polymerase, which is synthesizing DNA in this direction, can simply follow helicase and keep making DNA in a continuous fashion. Typically, this strand is able to finish DNA synthesis a little bit faster than the other strand, so it is called the leading strand. On the other hand, this DNA polymerase is synthesizing the other strand in this direction, which is the opposite as the other DNA polymerase. Now, ideally, you would like to synthesize this strand in the same direction as this DNA polymerase. However, that is not possible because DNA polymerase can only synthesize DNA in the 5' to 3' direction. So instead, what happens is it gets made in the opposite direction. So every few nucleotides, a primase will lay down an RNA primer, like this one right here, and then a DNA polymerase will come in and synthesize a new strand from the 5' to 3' direction. This will happen many times, and it will lay down a series of fragments, which are called Okazaki fragments. So every few nucleotides, so let's say in a few seconds or milliseconds, this helicase might be here, the strand will be more open and there will be more space. Primase will lay down a primer right here, and then another DNA polymerase will make a new Okazaki fragment. The second step in DNA replication, called elongation, is dominated by the action of DNA polymerase. It is important to know that prokaryotes, which is another way of saying bacteria, have 3 different kinds of DNA polymerases, and you must only be familiar with 2 of these. For the USMLE Step 1, you only need to be familiar with the enzymes involved in prokaryote DNA replication. Human or eukaryote DNA replication follows the same general principles as prokaryote DNA replication, but many more enzymes are involved. Thankfully, you only need to know prokaryote DNA replication. In prokaryotes, DNA polymerase III is responsible for elongating the DNA strand, that is, adding nucleotides. We will talk about the second type you need to know, DNA polymerase type 1. DNA polymerase type 2 is unknown what its main function is. Therefore, you do not need to be familiar with this DNA polymerase. DNA polymerase type 3 will continue to add nucleotides until it reaches an adjacent strand of already made DNA. At this point, DNA polymerase will fall off and elongation is finished. Before we keep moving, I want to take one last look at the process of elongation and initiation from a broader point of view. It is important to realize that many origins of replication are present in DNA. This is why DNA replication can occur so fast. Now, a fork of replication is essentially the double-stranded loop that is created by DNA replication. So for example, helicase, which would be normally right here, would split the DNA double strand, and you will get with two strands as well as a new strand in development on each side. This is called the fork. So there are two forks of replication. It kind of looks like a fork. So a fork of replication simply refers to the loop created by the enzymes which are active during DNA replication. You can see how the leading strand is synthesized continuously and the lagging strand is made in subsections called Okazaki fragments. So for example, if helicase is moving in this direction, then this DNA polymerase, which is synthesizing in this direction, simply has to follow helicase, and it can make one long continuous strand. These DNA polymerases, on the other hand, can only synthesize in this direction. Therefore, they lag behind and they make each individual Okazaki fragment one after the other. The same process happens here, and it happens various times throughout the chromosome. At the end of DNA replication, you're left with two copies of double-stranded DNA, one for each daughter cell. So we can imagine that this set of DNA is going to go to cell 1, and then this is going to go to the other daughter cell. Each daughter cell will get one of the original parental strands, which is the blue one, and then we'll get one new DNA strand, which was made during DNA replication. The next step, termination, occurs after DNA polymerase type 3 has finished elongation. Remember the primers made by the enzyme Primase so that DNA polymerase type 3 can start working? These primers are not made up of DNA, but complementary RNA. These short segments of RNA must be replaced by DNA. This is where the second type of DNA polymerase comes into play. DNA polymerase type 1 removes the RNA primers and replaces them with DNA. Once DNA polymerase type 1 has finished replacing the RNA primers with DNA, each strand must be connected. Throughout this entire process, the DNA strands made by each of the different DNA polymerases are only being held together by the hydrogen bonds on the opposite strand. In order to ensure that the DNA molecules are stable and do not break, the strands must be connected. The backbone of the DNA strands are made up of special covalent bonds called phosphodiester bonds. A special enzyme called DNA ligase will connect all the strands made by the different polymerases by creating new phosphodiesterase bonds. While all the enzymes in DNA replication are important, the most important enzymes are DNA polymerase I and DNA polymerase III, so we will talk about them a little more. DNA polymerase III, as we mentioned, is responsible for creating the new DNA strand after the RNA primer is in place. However, this enzyme also has another important function. It can proofread the DNA that has been created. This is very important because any error in DNA replication can lead to mutations which can have devastating effects. This proofreading mechanism is called 3' to 5' exonuclease proofreading. This is because every time DNA polymerase inserts a nucleotide, it will check to make sure the nucleotide is the correct one. If an incorrect nucleotide is added, it will shift in the 3' to 5' direction relative to the new DNA strand and remove the incorrect nucleotide. This is where the word exonuclease comes in. Basically means to cut. Once this happens, it will insert the correct nucleotide. DNA polymerase I, like DNA polymerase III, also has the same proofreading mechanism. So here I have summarized all the important enzymes involved in DNA replication, as well as their function. Let's go over them. So helicase separates the DNA strands and creates the fork of replication. It does this by breaking the hydrogen bonds that hold each double strand together. The single-stranded binding proteins, or SSBP, binds the separated DNA strands in order to prevent them from reannealing. Topoisomerase unwinds the DNA molecule by cleaving DNA strands in order to remove coiling or twisting. Primase creates an RNA primer so the DNA polymerase type III can create the DNA strand. Ligase connects the pieces of DNA to make a single continuous strand at the end of DNA replication. So in summary, DNA replication is a semi-conservative process. DNA replication is a three-step process which requires the work of various enzymes. And lastly, errors in DNA replication can lead to mutations which can lead to disease. We will talk about these in the next few lectures. Thank you for watching. See you in the next lecture.